Namaskar, ladies and gentlemen, and a grand welcome to all of you to the 268th episode of the Masterclass series, The Soul of Lions, a global talk show that celebrates the service, spirit, and leadership within Lions International and also the Leo Club program, broadly broadcasted in more than 190 plus countries. I am Lion Navdeep Nigam, your host for tonight, along with being the first vice president of Lions Club of Mumbai Soul, the Leo District chairperson for Leo District 3231A3, and the Chief Youth Transformation Officer for Leo Multiple 3231. Under the visionary direction of our founder, Lion Dr. Raju Manwani, tonight's episode shines a spotlight on an extraordinary young leader who has sparked an enormous change in his rather limited tenure in the world of Leoism. His journeys exemplify passion, purpose, vision, ideation, and the essence of Leoism. A dynamic chartered accountant with a rank holding distinction of All India Rank 2, to a budding entrepreneur to now a senior associate at a leading private equity firm. His career spans finance, technology, and community leadership. He has applied his deep understanding of the financial systems and compliance to the world of fintech and startup innovation also. He is also the founder of the revolutionary treasury app Moneyball for Leo District 3231A3, which was devised on a social platform where he renders his services to, apart from his ventures that reflect his passion for reimagining how individuals and organizations manage money, risk, and growth. Well, beyond his entrepreneurial pursuits as well as his career changing abilities, he has distinguished himself as a dedicated leader in the Leo movement. As a treasurer rather of the Leo Club of Andheri Achievers to now the treasurer for the district, he combines his financial acumen with his commitment to service, enabling young leaders to thrive and amplify impact across more than 24 clubs and 1,000 members. His dual focus, building pioneering financial platforms and nurturing community driven leadership, makes him a rare breed of professional who marries commercial rigor with humanitarian purpose. Well, known for his forward looking mindset, he embraces innovation while remaining grounded in the principal service and continues to serve the society to the best of his ability and at the same time acing in the corporate world. A blend of heart, head, and heroic action. Please join me in welcoming a true Leo Lion and also the district treasurer of Leo District 3231A3 for Leo Stick Year 2526, Leo Lion Ayush Agrawal.
Hello, hi Navdeep bhai, and hello. It's a great pleasure to be here because this the series has been going on for like 4 or 5 years. Very distinguished leaguers have featured on this platform, and standing today as a young leaguer, just 2 years into Leoism, featuring in this show is really a pleasure. So thank you for the wonderful introduction and the opportunity, Navdeep bhai.
Absolutely, Ayush. Firstly, once again from the entire team of Soul of Lions, I would like to welcome you, and we are very, very honored to have you on the show. So, thank you so much for taking our time and coming on the show today. Starting
Pleasure
off,
is mine.
obviously, you've had a fabulous journey in Leoism already, as you mentioned, only 2 years, but it's been a big roller coaster in terms of the changes you've effected, which is also exemplifying about the fact that it's not the tenure, but it's obviously the intent that matters if you want to bring about a change. But we'll talk about the Leoism section later. We'll initially start off with all the other exploits that you've had in your personal life and your professional life also. So initially, I would just like you to kind of like tell our viewers about who Ayush Agrawal is, where he comes from, and a little about your profession and your career as of now.
So, like one on one, we've interacted a lot about who I am, right? But for the sake of people who are listening to us, from a very humble background in Calcutta, my family's case. So I'm from a middle class family in Calcutta. My family, like father is into business, mother is a homemaker. People are all banyas, right? So all of them are from business background. Hardly anyone has studied anything. Rather basic graduation, right? So I come from that background, having studied chartered accountancy, CFA, and then was fortunate to have secured a rank in my CA examinations. Right back then, when I was studying, people were like, "Yeah, you just study and get some job, right?" So that was the ultimate end goal in my life. That just clear the CA exams somehow, because the entire thing about clearing CA exams is a big thing in itself, right? Because people the pass rates are just 2-3%. So So in fact, just clearing the exams was a dream, right? From there to achieving a rank to sitting here in a global investment firm is all a dream come true. So from that background, when I cleared my exams, it was just that any job, I'm done. From there, getting into one of the top performing domestic banks, investment banks in India, working on top notch deals, and then working as a part of top five, top seven sovereign wealth funds across the globe. It's been a roller coaster. And in that pursuit, what happened is I moved cities, right? So coming from Calcutta, you would know there are seldom opportunities in Calcutta, right? So you have to move out of Calcutta in order to pursue good career in finance, which is what brought me to Mumbai. And when you move cities, you leave behind your past in that city, right? So you had to leave your family, your friends, your acquaintances there and move to a new city, which is when I got a new family in this movement, in Leo movement, right? So I had joined this movement to find a few friends, and now a few of them have turned into family. So that is a broad overview of what I have traveled or traversed through in the last 5 6 years, as you may say.
Fabulous. Well, just saying that you were fortunate enough to secure a rank is modest enough when you are actually all India rank two. But I understand what you mean by that. I'll obviously start off a little on the chartered accountancy path. Ayush, you said you come from a family of people who, the emphasis on education was not that much per se, or even the historic data did not qualify for the same. But what led you personally to, or what rather inspired you to pursue chartered accountancy, or the path of chartered accountancy? And how did you kind of like, try and make sure that it's going to be shaping your career in the most profitable manner ahead?
So one correction here. It is just that my family, none of the people in my family had pursued higher education. So the point was that you have business dhanda hai, you enter into that business, right? So the idea was whether you can break out of the income levels that you have. That was the only vision that you pursue, right? Because being like, it's a cocoon essentially when you're in the staying with the family in a city which is not as advanced, right? You've not seen many opportunities. So whatever you've seen with people around you is your aspiration, right? So people around me were the ones who cleared CA in like 5 6 attempts, or even had not cleared, and had like a few of them were my teachers and having been able to clear exams. Okay, so at that point in time, the ambition was like just clear the exams and get done with it. You will be able to get some job, and that is just to break through the financial barrier. Like whatever your level is financially, you'll always want to achieve the next realm. So the next realm would could be achieved only if you as in I could have cleared a good, or rather pursued a good career pathway. So that was the broad gist of it. So in that pursuit, I had started off with CA, and again, going by what I had seen around me, the ambition was just to clear the exams. And in that fright that you'll fail the exams, because see, genuinely, if out of 100 people there are just two people clearing the exams, there's something that is to be done differently, right? And my fear drove passion, and that passion drove the energy and enthusiasm that I could put into my studies and achieve whatever little I could in my exams, right? And after I had achieved that all India rank two is when I realized that the world is very different when you've achieved something, right? Until and unless you achieve something, people don't care about you, or rather they believe कि यार ठीक है होगा कोई, मतलब you're just a random person, right? But as and when you achieve something, your name becomes a label, and with further achievement it becomes a brand where people start calling you, and your own reputation within the community, right? It enhances. The people who don't care about you suddenly start caring about you, so things around you change suddenly. So funnily enough, right after my exams, when I went to college, right? So I am from a boys' college, morning 6 to 10, all boys, 800 boys around you. Uh, so after my intermediate exams, I went to our college, which becomes co-ed in the evening.
Yeah.
So as I stepped into the college, I could see like 15, 20 girls saying कि ये तो आयुष अग्रवाल है, this guy had secured a all India rank too, right? So things like that suddenly changed in your society. People started saying that no, this is a bright guy. I always knew he'll do something great. So perceptions change with just your actions of hard work, which lead to achievement and then fame. Yeah.
Totally. But on the contrary, I would just basically re-emphasize on this particular fact that achievement is something which doesn't really come to you only at the CA exam. I'm pretty sure that you were fantastic, and in the profile that I obviously ended up making, you were there amongst the All India rank 5 and the highest of East India when it came to class 12. You ended up being rank 1 out of the 1100 plus students at St. Xavier's College, with regards to topping in more than 5 out of 6 semesters. So achievement is something which I don't really think that, yeah, you're being modest about it. It doesn't come very new to you. But at the same time, let's talk a little further about your education. You finished off CA, and one very interesting aspect about your professional career is something which I would love to know about. Post asking you about the CFA clearance is obviously the journalism internship that you ended up doing, which obviously is a very different aspect as compared to where you are right now. But we'll start off with obviously CFA. Clearing all the three levels of CFA in itself is a huge achievement post CA. So how did that come about, and how did you shape yourself in terms of appearing for CFA exams, along with the obviously the career timeline would have obviously started at that particular point of time.
So do you want an honest answer or a fabricated one?
No, absolutely honest answer. That's what I'm looking for, I guess.
So to be honest, see, CFA is an internationally accredited degree, right? So people do aspire to become CFAs, but in India, what happens is people around you are so competitive that you end up pursuing multiple career pathways, right, or multiple educational qualifications, so to say. So back
Absolutely.
then, when I was doing CA, everyone around me at St. Xavier's College was either pursuing CS or CFA or FRM. So there were like overachievers all around me, and all of them were hardworking, ambitious guys, and thankfully so, because it is because of them that the entire ecosystem could grow. Right, there have been a lot of people who've done well in that ecosystem because people learn from each other. So in that pursuit, I started pursuing CFA. Now, CFA to me was honestly not the mainstream qualification because I was pursuing CA any which ways. And although it is tough, but I ended up studying for the exams just 1 month before the exam because a large part of it was probably the part of CA curriculum. And interestingly, as you would know, CA has this 3 years of work experience or internship program. So I was working with PwC back then, right? So any which ways, I did not have any time to study. So it was just a combination of people around you, the ecosystem, and your ambition that helps you drive things. So what is important here is to understand that when you're around the right people, you will definitely grow. So had I not been in that ecosystem where people were ambitious and I could learn from them, maybe I wouldn't have been here.
Absolutely. I think rubbing off the excellence is something which is a good concept that you obviously mentioned out there. Let's come up to your professional career. Obviously, apart from all these things that are going on, in your academics, profession is obviously something very important. And, you worked with great and bigger and very, very gigantic groups like PwC and Mahindra, and you've been with Kotak Investment and now obviously Temasek. But in the midst of all of that, then there are two profiles I would love to talk about. Firstly, one is obviously a journalism intern that you had with the Times Group, and apart from that, the CA iconic mentor thing that you did, a stint with the Unacademy, group, which I believe is something which is very, it's a great leveler in terms of the kind of different profiles you've catered to. So I would love for you to talk about these two profiles, and how did you, come about doing them?
So I'll take this question by going back 15 years in time when I was in like 7, 8, like higher secondary school, right? It was not clear that what do you want to do in life. Back then, I wanted to become an engineer. Spoke to my grandfather. He said that, boss, don't do all of this. Accounts paro, pursue CA, pursue commerce, you will go well. It is then that we had this Times in education, TIE in school. So it was basically Times of India coming to schools and having this newspaper reading program, basically, so to say. So basically, as a part of that program, I had volunteered to take an internship of a week long internship with the Times of India, the Times Group, where there were people from across top schools in Calcutta, and I could learn a lot about that. But that is way back in time. But the other one which you had said, the mentorship one, is a more recent one in the last 4 5 years. So interestingly, again, this was an opportunity when An Academy, which is an edtech company in India, had started off its CA wing. So essentially, it's known for its MBA preparations, engineering preparations. But when it had ventured into the CA program, it had connected with a lot of good CAs across India to mentor young students who could actually learn from your experiences and implement those learnings in their daily program so that they can excel in their education and the career pathway. So in that, and that is also an extension of my startup which I had pursued. So basically, three of us, like right after CA, I had gone for the management development program to IIM Indore, where all the CA rank holders of my term were called to participate. So there were two people who are now not just people, a family, like they're a part of family, right? So they are very close friends who I met there. And we started off on a very competitive note because at that point in time, people were fighting with each other for jobs. Simple, right in the middle of COVID, after 12 months when you've had your exams, right? So our attempt had gotten cancelled because of COVID. So after COVID, that was the first attempt. People were saying, yeah, jobs nahi hai market mein, there are dearth of jobs, you will not get job. So people were all rather competing for highly paid jobs. And it is in that competition that we found friends. So three of us then started mentoring other people. Just give me a minute, please. Hello, Munish. Can I call you in half an
Okay, the busy man's just attending a call. We've had these interruptions and we were informed about it because managing a private equity job is not easy. Okay, we've got Ayush back. Let's go.
Yeah. So in where was I? Sorry.
Yeah,
So I was talking about this unacademy thing.
yeah.
So three of us had started this venture called Mentorworks, and it rather started as a philanthropic concept. So basically, when you clear CA, you realize that until your exams, you are in a deep competition. You know what your syllabus is. You know everyone has to read the same thing, answer the same questions to clear the same exam. But right after your exams are cleared, you are at your own pace in your own race in your life, right? You're not competing with anyone. You're a different individual, right? My journey will be very different from yours, and so on and so forth, so on and so forth. So basically, everyone is so very confused. कि यार अब करे क्या? What next? So that was the same dilemma that we as individuals, we as in we the rank holders, right? So like if you've achieved a rank in CA, it is believed that you're able to crack good jobs, right? Or rather, at least you'll get calls for good jobs. But people, like if there are 1,000, 10,000 CAs, uh, only 50 of them get rank, right? So the others actually struggle to understand what should they do next. So we were in the same dilemma and we started helping people out, and that philanthropic act suddenly became an economic activity because we wanted this entire thing to be sustained, right? So in that pursuit, what we did was we hired a few interns, set up a website, and started giving mentorship sessions for nominal cost. And that those costs were just to cover the administrative cost and of the platform, of the interns, of the website and all, right? So all of that mentorship passion is what drove this stint with Unacademy, where they got to know about me and my friends through that platform, and they had requested us to be onboarded on their platform. So that's the broad thing about it. Yeah.
Lovely. That's fantastic. Yet another thing which is very interesting in your profile. I would love to now ask you. Obviously, you said that you ventured into so many things, and your present professional part also is very taxing. Now, when you're obviously someone having such busy schedules, and the amount of work load which is massive, I believe. uh, how do you end up venturing into a social organization, and at the same time not only venturing into it just as a participant but also start actively contributing towards the organization? Tell us a little about your journey into Leoism, how it started, and how's it going now?
So, see, honestly, as you would have seen, I received a call now, right? So the point is, in this field, you don't own your time basically because you're dealing with so many moving parts, right? Because within your organization there are a lot of expectations from you. Outside of your organization, you've as an organization where you work, right? The company where I work has invested in multiple companies and is evaluating investments in multiple other companies, right? So in that pursuit, what happens is you end up interacting with a lot of people where you drive the discussions, you drive the conversations, right? So what happens is a lot of discussions are owned by you. So for example, a portfolio company CFO would be calling me for certain mundane stuff or certain, not mundane, but certain regular stuff until and unless it is highly strategically important, right? Not that the team or I am not involved in highly strategic stuff, but what happens is a day-to-day conversations with CXOs and senior people becomes a new normal in this field, right? So ultimately you don't own your time because anything can erupt anywhere at any point in time, right? So even during my leaves, what has happened is that I have been on leave, so my organization people may not be calling me, but the portfolio companies, the other partnerships, the other people you're connected with are generally in touch for something or the other, right? So generally the thing is, the basically the opportunity of the job that I'm into is demanding, but at the end of the day, you're human, right? There's this need hierarchy theory of Maslow, which wants some self esteem, affiliation needs, right? So, what happens is when you're earning well, when you're doing well in life, you actually want to do something for the society and for yourself. So, Leo as a platform serves both the purposes. It's not a pure play social organization where you're just into service and cannot party when you're free, right? And on the other hand, when you want to talk to your inner self, understand who you are by doing service, by connecting well with the marginalized communities, doing well for the environment, you get best of both worlds, right? So that is what brought me closer to this movement. Little did I know about this movement 2 years back. Uh, Joined this honestly to make a few friends and pursue these two purposes to whatever extent it was possible. And as you say, like journey hai, to in the journey found a few good diamond-hearted people who became good friends, and now it's a part of the daily routine.
Fabulous. Okay, so let's delve into a little more about about your journey into Leoism. Getting a chance to obviously be a part of one of the most esteemed clubs in the entire vicinity, from Bandra to Tarapur, especially when it comes to the Leo Club program, the Leo Club of Andheri Achievers. It's a club with obviously a lot of legacy. It's a club with a lot of work that they have behind. Something that a lot of youth have been associated to, very affiliated people in today's day and age. Also, some a club which is actually making a difference. How did you get to know about Leo Club of the Achievers, and how did your journey begin there? Tell us a little about that. Let us get a little more candor out of you with regards to your Leo journey.
So I was a website lead for the organization. So basically, when I moved to Mumbai, I'd just gone to Lions International website and applied join now. So that is how I got myself to associate with this organization. Uh, so essentially, see, this is an organization with international repute. Everyone knows about Lions, Rotaract, Red Cross Society. So these are globally renowned organizations. So I applied for a membership here and was fortunate to be called by Andheri Achievers Club, which is the club in my vicinity. When I joined, I was just an inactive member, so to say, because I just wanted to like make friends, right? So but that is a process. You cannot simply do that. It's not an activity in itself, right? You interact with people, you find like-minded people, you get connected with them. So that's a process. In the first two activities, it was just as a stranger newbie in Mumbai, I used to be shy, go to some activity, participate, and then just come back. But then what happened is, after party, after one of the events is where I found, or rather met, a few people who were deeply embedded in this ecosystem, in this organization. And when I interacted with them, two things happened. One, I found good friends in them, and two, those people found a good friend in myself, plus someone intellectual. I would say, at least that is what they had said, right? So basically, I had exchanged a few ideas. So for a stranger to share ideas, very few people do give you importance, right? But this organization had people who heard my voice, and then eventually, when the next council was being formed at the club, those people had actively recommended my name, and which is when I became a part of the leadership of the club. And then it's just, once you start moving in a direction, you just keep moving. So that is what happened. When I delivered a few reports of mine, it was appreciated at multiple levels, right? So across those appreciations, more people started knowing of me. I started interacting more. And then, yes, eventually I was offered this position for district treasurer by the Honorable District President of 323
Fabulous. That's quite a journey. Obviously, it's going on right now, and it's getting bigger and bigger. Obviously, we'll talk about the district treasurer position now. Obviously, something which comes with a lot of responsibility, because you're technically now someone who's handling 24 clubs, from being a person who's probably just handling accounts in one particular club, which you started and did very meritoriously, if I may say so, for Leo Club of Andheri Achievers. When it comes to your role as the district treasurer, tell our viewers a little about how it goes when it comes to the Leo fraternity, in terms of the responsibilities of a Leo district treasurer, and then we'll obviously talk about the big invention, the big innovation that obviously has enthralled a lot of people globally, which you were the founder of, you were the initiator of. So yeah, tell us a little on the initial side when it comes to the district treasurer job.
See, honestly, treasury function is the backbone of any organization, right? You need to collect money, you need to pay money. If that flow is not happening, the entire organization is screwed. No one can just operate on charity. Like, operate on charity, as in, if money is not involved, the organization will not survive, not thrive. So proper management of those finances is very, very important. So see, as a district treasurer, what changed for me was now suddenly managing 24 clubs, right? So last year I was just managing finances for a single club. What is the quantum? A few lakhs, which for international audience is, say, half a million or a million in local currency, right? But what happens is, when you move to the district level, you realize that the combined financials for the entire district, as in all the clubs combined, moves to a few hundred, like a few hundred thousands, or so to say, in crores, right? In INR parlance, in local currency parlance. So in that, when you're dealing with money in those quantums, what happens is your fiduciary responsibility becomes all the more important to make sure that the finances are managed properly, right? If there is misreporting, the entire organization's reputation goes for a toss. Especially when you are in an NGO where you've collected money from people who have put in their money for a cause, right? So their sentiments are attached to that money. So especially in that setup, it is all the more crucial, and it is very important that you justify or do justice to the people who've entrusted their money with you. To, like, they've given you money so that it can work towards someone's life's enhancement, right? To improve someone's experience, right? So that should actually happen, and it can happen only if the entire finances are tightly managed, right? Otherwise, there can be multiple leakages. You can spend more. You can, so basically, you need to maintain wisdom in finances just to make sure that your organization is running smoothly and properly. And it becomes even more important where your people, the contributors, are young people, right? So the people in the district are aged between 15 to 30. So a lot of people are students who've put in their hard-earned money into the movement for the cause. So it becomes very important to manage that properly.
Fabulous. That's a great explanation. I believe everyone now would be very rest assured in terms of how the treasury at the Leo clubs are run. If Ayush may be the face of running treasury in the most eminent manner possible. Okay, moving on to something very interesting. Obviously, you've been someone who has been an individual who's wanted to kind of like innovate a lot of time, ideate a lot of time. You've done that before with your startups, as you already mentioned, and you've done that at your job levels also. But I believe that, yeah, you're an individual who constantly tries to find some of the other gaps that can be filled, and something which can be accentuated if it's actually going on at a particular level since a very long time. So I think one of the biggest testament to it is obviously the latest treasury app that you obviously came up with, into a system which has been going on for more than 60, 70 years, at various clubs around more than 150 or 200 countries. And you came up with it as an individual as of now, and obviously there must have been a gap that you must have found while pursuing your treasurership at the club level. So, what was it all about? How did the idea of the Leo A3 Moneyball come in, and how is it formulating right now?
So, see, the great ideas all around you come out of a desperation that people have, right? You would have seen Uber and Ola emerge as great companies, but they've come out of a desperation of a common man not being able to find cabs in the morning while he's going to the office, right? Similarly, when I was a treasurer, it's a side hustle for everyone, right? It's not my daily job to maintain finances for the Leo Club, right? After a tiring day, if you're to come back to home and prepare all of those manual accounts on Excel for hundreds of expenses, it's super tiring, right? And especially in a world where things are like everything is automated, right? Large corporations sitting out of Bay Area in US are thinking about artificial intelligence. There are robots doing stuff. Here, 1,000 kilometers, 2,000 kilometers away, we are sitting at our homes, young adults preparing numbers on Excel, right? So the idea was to see that can we save time of people and use those time in more productive activities. So see, accounting is a skill that you should have, but is it important to do repetitive accounts month on month and waste time? The answer is no, right? Once you've learned the thing, how can you reduce the time spent on it and save that time for yourself to perhaps maybe read a book or spend some quality time with your friends or family, right? So, on a coffee, just 1 week before schooling, this idea came across when I was sitting with the entire micro. So, back then, I created on a coffee table randomly to delivering the entire app in 1.5 months. It was all rather a roller coaster journey. So the idea came across my mind. Then I was just finding people around me. Suddenly बोलते हैं ना कि when you want something, the entire universe around you starts supporting you, right? What happened is as I was randomly speaking to one of my co-founders of Mentorworks, so to say, my close friend Abhijit. And he said, "Kiyak, why don't you connect with the third guy who is his friend but became my friend out of the common connections, right?" So all of those connections, I meet a guy who is now a proud Leo, helped me develop the app. So he's the developer for the app. So neck, what happened is in a span of 1.5 months, it was completely ideated by Leos, documented by Leos, tested by Leos, prepared by Leos, coded by Leos, and is being used by Leos. So from 7th of June, we had started working on it, and by mid July we were done with it. And interestingly, no one was working on it full time. So we were doing our daily jobs. At the night, spent an hour or maybe half an hour every day to develop what is now the Leo Moneyball app.
Fantastic. I think that's a great way to put it. Obviously, and as you mentioned, obviously, the basic concept of trying to maneuver through systems in a manner that they become easy for using is something which you applied, and obviously, it's been it's something which came out with resounding success. But I would also like you to emphasize a little or give our viewers a little bit of an example in terms of how it has actually helped out clubs. Now, why I asked that particular question is obviously, when a district is obviously spanning across various suburbs in a particular place, there are clubs with less amount of tenure. There are clubs with probably CA professionals. There are clubs with probably no finance professionals. So how is this app kind of like changed the game when it comes to treasury, so to say? And how can, and does it have also global implications? That's what I would like you to tell our audiences. Obviously, we've got lions and leos watching this program in more than 100 countries, and I'm pretty sure that all the other constitutional areas of leos and lions would also be very excited if such a solution can be provided globally and initiated by A3. It will be just eyes on rather a topping which would be really really interesting for the district also. So carry on.
So see, this app is a global app. Hosted on App Store, you can open it on your iPhone. Hosted on Play Store, you can open it on your Android phone. Simple to use. Essentially, what it does is everything accounting, everything treasury can be found on Leo Moneyball. What is the genesis? Essentially, what happened is last time when I was preparing my reports, treasury reports, I realized that I received a lot of appreciation. But why? Was it because I was doing something extraordinary? Maybe or maybe not. Uh, I think the answer lies in where I drew my inspiration from. So essentially, I was into CA internship with PwC, right? So I've dealt with accounts of large multinationals, right? So the level of accounts that I've dealt with perhaps was what was inspiring for me when I was preparing treasury reports. So I think what I did was a very basic job, but then I realized that the ecosystem, whenever you're working in an NGO or any organization, social organization, people come from different strata, different backgrounds, different passions. And when they're interested with a job of accounting, everyone may not be well versed, right? So how can you prepare an accounts which is wholesome, comprehensive, and it is providing you as much details as you want to, right? So that was the detail orientation and comprehensiveness was one thought process. Two, how can you standardize it? Now your report may be very different from mine and maybe very different from someone preparing it back, say in New York or in say London or say in Bangladesh, right? So but numbers should be standardized, right? 1 2 3 is 1 2 3 all across the globe, and so is the spending pattern. So the way you behave with a financial statement, the way you should read a financial statement is not different anywhere across the globe, right? Your presentation may be different. So the idea was to say, in my own district, if there are 24 clubs, they are speaking different languages in terms of accounts. Can I unify the language? Can I make them all speak the same language in the same format, in the same pattern, so that anyone who's looking at those 24 accounts can say, hey, boss, I understand how this works. I understand how detailed it is. I understand the credibility behind it. So the idea was to standardize it, make it comprehensive, and B, feed in all the information that is relevant. So, for example, if there is an expense item, right, it's very difficult to keep a track of those expense items if you don't have supporting links. Now, supporting if they're shared on paper or on WhatsApp, you simply lose track of it, right? So the idea was, can you feed in all the supporting documents in the app? Then, can you automate the reports? Why should a young guy, 20 years of age, spend 3 hours in preparing a report when he could be doing something more phenomenal, right? He could be reading a book because these people are the future of the world, future of the organization, future of their own nations, right? So I'm not saying that what they were doing is less important, but in the emerging technological world where AI and automation is picking up, you should rather see what are the mundane tasks that you can do away with and spend your time on upskilling yourselves or rather doing something that can be for the greater good, right? So the idea was to automate all the reports. So now, if you go onto the app, essentially, how do you use it? As in when you incur an expense or an income, right? You just feed it. It takes 30 seconds to feed in the expense, feed in the income, right? And you're done with it. Whenever you want to generate a report for any time frame, just go to the app, download reports, and you're done. So that saves. So For an individual, it may save a few hours, or say half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours for an individual, depending on how much time he used to take to prepare the report. But collectively, think of it. If you say that there are 7,000 clubs, for those 7,000 clubs, if there are 12 monthly reports, on those 12 monthly reports, if young individuals or young adults are saving 2 hours each, what is the quantum of time that is saved? Now, if that time can be put into something productive, can definitely change the world, right? So that was the broad thought process.
That's great. I think very excited to obviously understand the global implications of this. But you obviously mentioned something which is very intriguing for a lot of people. I'm sure that a lot of people would be wanting to ask questions with regards to the app also. Uh, as you mentioned that certain reports and certain parameters or certain criteria when it comes to a treasury report might be different when it comes to a European Union or probably a club based out of the United States or even Bangladesh. And in our case, obviously the reach for Leo clubs is in more than 150 countries, as I already mentioned. So how do you? So what are the criteria that was there a particular research understanding that you obviously had before kind of incorporating every single criteria or the logic behind this app? And how it would actually apply to the global implications, global applications, because obviously when you devise something for clubs based out of Mumbai, which is obviously a tier 1 city in India, would probably be a differentiator even in a tier 2 city which is based not more than 100 kilometers from this particular city itself. So how did the entire formulation come about, and how much research went into it? uh, could you just enlighten us about the same?
So, to be honest, I'll take your question in two buckets. One is global implications, and then the research that went behind it, right? So, in terms of global implications, you would have heard of Indian accounting standards, US accounting standards, right? All of those are different for MNCs that are reporting in millions and billions. Fortunately or unfortunately, the Leo ecosystem is designed in a fashion where you're fragmented into individual clubs which are area specific. So in that setup, what happens is for an individual club, the scale doesn't go beyond a few hundred thousands, right? In most cases. So in that setup, what happens is you're not required to comply with the global company accounting standards, Indian accounting standards. Now, basic accounting is like maths. It's like science. It can't change, right? If I'm speaking English here, the accent may be different in US, the accent may be different in London, but essentially the language doesn't change. The emotions doesn't change. The meanings don't change. Although there'll be different dialects, there'll be different meanings to certain words, but broadly the language remains common. Right? So accounting is a language which is common at its core. Then the presentation and disclosure may vary across countries, and the accounting for certain nuanced aspects, like say for example, a fixed asset may be different across different nations, right? But here, what happens is in a Leo ecosystem, essentially most of the items are like running expenses or running income, as in you don't have any capital expenditures, right, which are
Yeah.
sustained over multiple years. So if suppose for example I've created this app, there are two approaches. If I capitalize the app, I say that this is an asset for next 5 years and I start depreciating it, is then that your accounting standards come into play. But here the ecosystem is such that I expense it off. I've created it, I expense it off. Now for the other person, it's a fresh slate next year, right? So in that setup, no matter which Leo club, which city, which tier of city, which country, the common accounting language remains same. And this app is designed as per the Leo ecosystem, like the membership, how you account for membership, how you account for the receipts, how you should account for the payables. So it is very Leo centric, right? So what happens is when you're using this, you'll realize that it's not a standard off the shelf accounting tool, right? You can get Tally, you can get Zoho apps which are off the shelf. But
Yeah.
the entire efforts behind this is to was to actually customize it only and purely for the Leo ecosystem, right? So a person sitting out of say a European country or a tier two city in India, both of them can equally benefit from this app. You're on mute.
Perfect. I think that's a very pointed out and proper explanation with regards to the same. Yes.
And to your second question, the research that went behind it,
Yeah.
honestly, having come from finance and accounting background, uh, it was all the more easy. But honestly, the journey was not at all easy because it was for the first time that I was developing an app. So it is then that I realized what is the amount of efforts that go into it, because the systems don't understand emotions. You'll
Yeah.
have to make it as accurate as it can get, right? So there were multiple iterations to make sure that the logic that is fed into the system is correct.
Absolutely. I think obviously a very important part when it comes to the logic, because that I believe is the entire heart of the app. So kudos on that. Fabulous job done. I would also like you to tell our viewers, just last question on the app is how have the experiences been when it comes to the real life applications once it was rolled out, and as you mentioned that you did it all in record time, which is pretty much unheard of. Me myself, coming from an IT background myself, I do understand that 1.5 months is pretty much an impossible task for an app to be built, and logic to be incorporated, and at the same time rolled out on public domain apps. So tell us a little about how the implications of the same have been. Has there been a testing period to it also, and how is the performance right now?
So yeah, honestly, first 1 month was difficult because I had to make people understand what's the purpose, what can go wrong, why should someone use it, right? So for example, there were questions like, yeah, why should I use it and what can go wrong? What if my data gets deleted? So all of those questions are natural questions that will come to any person's mind, right? What is the access rights? To what extent do you have control on access, right? Can someone come and fudge my accounts? Can someone actually play around with my books? Because it's a matter of trust that people are putting on you when you're using their app, right? When they're using your app, right? So all of these were natural questions. Plus, you need to make them understand the entire functioning, right? So that 1 month was obviously a journey to be traveled. But post that, it's been like 5 months now, 4.5 months now since the rollout, and it is for the like last time I was the treasurer, so I know how many people used to report their treasury reports like on a monthly basis. Eventually, you realize that mostly 50-60% of the people are enthusiastic, well versed, conversant, and so to say diligent to report on a monthly basis, but other people lose interest because it's a time-taking affair, taxing job, right? Here back home, you need to sit down, you need to prepare your Excel sheets. But with the app, fortunately, for the last 5 months, we've been able to achieve 100% reporting, and that's not just a mark of success. More importantly, when I speak to people, like what has changed, they say that, boss, now I feel that my task is easier, so I enjoy it. Now I enjoy managing finances because I spend more quality time in the club doing more stuff,
Yeah.
not just finances. So that is one thing that has changed, right? So people have said that the time gets saved, plus the kind of output that is received from my perspective is very good, right? Because I know exactly the nth level of detail that any person would want to know, right? If I want to know any detail for any club, I can get to know that. Plus, what happens is, I don't say that people fudge accounts, but even if they were to, it's easier to catch, right? Because the way it is designed, you can't bypass, or rather, you can't put in any random entry and just do away with it. So it
Totally.
essentially enhances the transparency. So, see, there are certain clubs which were inactive, which were, or not inactive, but less active, I would say, right? Even for those clubs, even without a single call, I see like 80% people reporting by themselves, right? It is just two, three people who are dealing with certain challenges. I need to call them and get these done, right? But essentially, the entire experience of mine as a treasurer and theirs as club treasurers has, I believe, enhanced.
Fabulous. I think till the time it's obviously having a positive effect, it's great, and until the time it actually makes work easy for anyone, I believe it's really, really nice. Let's move on to some candid questions, a little more on let's lessen down the seriousness of the entire conversation. Uh, you've obviously had experience working in massive organizations. You're still doing the same, and you obviously had an understanding in terms of being with a cream of people during your journey as a professional. How has the Leoism section helped you, or has it brought about any sort of change in you, which you see as a positive incorporation in your own personality over the past 2 years or 3 years that you've been associated with the fraternity?
Yeah, so see, everyone's experience will depend on the phase of life that they are into. Like for me, at this age, like I'm 28, right? So traditionally, if you're in an Indian family with 28 of age, people would say that you marry and just focus on your work, right? When I was in my college days, I was a super extrovert guy. Used to talk to hundreds of people around me, be friends with a lot of people. But eventually, as and when I was getting deeper into my job, I was becoming more of an introvert, right?
Yeah,
When I moved new cities, it was difficult for me to find new friends because how do you find, right? You don't have any social circles. Now, as and when I moved into Leoism, what I realized is that I was again moving back to the right balance of introvert of being an introvert versus an extrovert, right? So that is one thing that positively impacted me. Second is I was able to find a space where I could do something apart from what I'm doing for 80% of my day, right? So if
yeah,
I'm spending 12 to 14 or 16 hours in office, I'm doing certain things in a certain fashion with a kind of with a certain set of people who think in a certain fashion. When I move out of that system into the Leo ecosystem, then I am back in the group where I have young adults between 18 to 30. And again, all of them are brimming with energy, all of them are brimming with ideas. And then you clash your brains and your ideas with them to see what can come out of it. Right? So the entire persona changes, the way you think changes, the way you behave changes because you are kind of dealing with a different set of people, which actually contributes to your personality building. Otherwise, you would have been a single, you would have a herd mentality of thinking in certain fashion. You are 10 people around you think in this fashion, you only think that way. Right? But when you're here,
absolutely.
you have the plethora of thoughts coming across in the room, which you can learn from.
Totally. I think that brings me to my next question. Obviously, you've served obviously very well at the club level, but no matter how big a club, the population can probably range about from 70 to 200. But that also kind of like curbs you to a certain level. What I wanted to ask you is, now you're the district treasurer, probably having access and communication with more than 24 clubs now. In different parts of the city, with different experiences, with different backgrounds, with different social cadres, with different even preferential cadres. How has the experience been when it comes to being a district treasurer compared to what it was with you being a club treasurer? And if you could emphasize on certain skills that you believe tangible or intangible that you've been able to kind of like gain out of the experience.
Yeah, so when I was a club treasurer, the idea was just to deal with the 10 people around you in your club at the micro level. So it was easier to manage a smaller set of people, right? And all you had to do is manage your own account. So your accountability was for your own work.
Yeah.
As in when you become a district treasurer, your accountability is embedded with the responsibility of 20, of managing 24 different clubs. As I said, if you say, for example, every club has half a million of finance, that's on the lower side. So, for example, then cumulatively you're dealing with 1.2 million of funds, right? 1.2 million of funds. It's again on a lower side, I'm saying. But if that's the quantum, right, it's an added responsibility for you to make sure that all of these people are accounting properly, are reporting their finances properly. Because, see, what happens is all of these young treasurers are enthusiasts but inexperienced. So, what happens is they often do not appreciate the challenges that may come across. So, for example, when you're operating in any country, every country has its own laws which you need to comply with, right? So if they are not guided properly, they may not be knowing of certain things that are basic table stakes for them as treasurers, right?
Yeah.
So so excellence is not a destination, it's a journey, right? So the point is, how can you keep enhancing a the experience and b the quality of outputs? So as a club treasurer, my responsibility was my own accounts. कि, हाँ, चलो, I just do it by myself. I'm not dependent on anyone. Here I'm depending on 24 different teams to perform their tasks properly so that it becomes my success. So that sense of responsibility and added work comes on, and that is where you learn from it.
Fabulous. Now, obviously, we've seen that there's a lot of experience that you've gained even in your short tenure, and you are now at the district level, which pretty much is just one below where you can actually go, which is the multiple. Uh, in your view, you obviously 5 months into the district treasurer role. Also, I would just like to know from your end, what advice would you give to a young Leo or a young budding Leo aspirant who wants to step into a leadership role for the first time as a district officer? What would your advice be to?
Yeah, to be honest, a very candid opinion is just make the best out of it. People here, when they come, you're into a social setup as in not a social organization. When you're in a social setup, when you're between or amongst 10, 20, 100 odd people, you feel shy, you feel conscious, right? And in that pursuit, what happens is people don't end up taking initiative, right? So what happens is people don't end up learning. I've seen a lot of people who are not so good at public speaking. Perhaps they shiver when it comes to public speaking, but that's the right platform, right? The entire purpose
Yeah.
of this organization is to help you grow. If you can't do something, just volunteer, step up and say that I want to do it. You fail. So the beauty of this organization is that even if you fail, you have nothing to lose. But if you're if you're just crying it out, you learn. And if you succeed, it's an added bonus.
Yeah.
So in an organization where you have zero downside and massive upside to gain, it's always an optionality that you should play on, right? When it's a bet on poker where you don't lose anything, but you can earn anything and everything that's on the table. So you have people around you who can dance well, who can sing well, who can speak well, who can write well, who are having massive businesses, right? If I am a young adult, if I want to do something and I don't have any skills, I can perhaps reach out to 50 different people who are having different 50 businesses and I can find a common thread to serve them, right? I can find any business opportunity for myself. So it's just a playground. On the table, you have chips all around. Just make the best out of it.
Fabulous. I think one last question that I would love to ask you before we finish. It's time's just basically flown. It's been a fantastic episode and a very informative one, I must say. Looking back at your journey, obviously, however short it has been, do you think there have been instances where the Leo movement has shaped something different in you personally or professionally? And what has been the most transformative part about it?
See, the most transformative part, I would say, see, public speaking again. I don't think that I am extremely good at it, but I was never bad at it either. But what happened is when I'm into my day job, right, I'm 12, 14, 15 hours in front of the system into it. So
Yeah.
eventually I was turning more of an introvert, less of a public speaker, less of an extrovert person. So when I moved back to intense involvement in the system, I realized that I'll have to interact with much more people, many more people rather, sorry. So I had to interact with like 50, 60, 100 odd people in their capacities as presidents, as treasurers, and had to create bonds with them, right? So again, it's basically the juncture of your life, what you're doing, right? For an actor, if I was an actor, I would have been a superfluous uh, good good to gel along with guy, right? But if I'm a guy who's deep into research, deep into technical work, right, my persona will be very different. So this helps me shape a balanced persona where I can explore a different side of mine, where I can interact with more people, interact with diverse people, and speak up in forums which I would otherwise not have gotten an opportunity to,
Probably.
and also meet lovely people like yourselves who've mentored me through the journey.
That's very kind of you, Ayush. But I believe the entire success that you have is 100% yours. And the way you've actually delved yourself into being a very, very young and exuberant leader, I believe it's something for everyone to learn. I learn from you a lot every single day when we have our own conversations. So it's been fantastic knowing you as a person, and I'm sure that everyone who's joined in today for this particular episode must have taken great inspiration from how your journey has been. Thank you so much once again, Ayush, for coming on the show and giving us your time and giving us the amount of information and knowledge that you gain and that you possess. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir. Like 268th episode. I can't even
Absolutely.
imagine the number of great people who would have stepped on this platform to give their words of wisdom, and I've been fortunate to get an opportunity to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ayush. Ladies and gentlemen, that was 268 episode of Soul of Lions. Yet another fantastic episode, but this one with a Leo lion, something which is, again, a very, very revolutionary thing. The young lions and the Leo lions are the ones shaping the journey forward for the Lions International also and the Leo Club program. I believe there's been a lot to learn from this fantastic achiever and a young leader, Leo Lion Ayush Agrawal. And I'm sure that this particular platform of Soul of Lions is going to give you many more such stories. Moving on for from this episode and this week, this is your host, Lion Navdeep Nigam. Until next week, it's good night and goodbye.